I can wildly diminish my anxiety, which has always been my struggle, I'll say the phrase, remember who you are. And what I mean, I'm snapping myself into what you'd probably refer to as business Tom or entrepreneur Tom, where it's like, oh yeah, remember the things I've done, what I've accomplished, all the like mental faculties that I have at my disposal that for whatever reason right now, like don't feel accessible. It's so weird that I can shift into that and I can feel small and scared and all of that. And then I just say that phrase and I'm like, my chin comes down, my brow furrows, and I'm like, oh, that's right. Like I know who I am and what I can do. And so the 1,000 personalities, knowing that you're in one of these different ones.
You are those other things too though, brother. Like I'm not diminishing your, remember who you are mantra. But I want to encourage you also not to diminish. You are all the other things too. You are still the 0 to 7. You're still the childhood Tom.
Is that useful somehow?
Absolutely, that's useful.
I despise those moments.
And that might be why the experience happened at all. And some part of that experience shaped who you are now. So there's a resource in those experiences. When you carte blanche reject them because you despise them, use a term like that, I'm sure there are things that happen between 0 and 7 that you don't despise.
Oh, I didn't mean the age, only that feeling of being anxious and
that feeling sucks.
Too weak for something. Hate.
Yeah, that feeling sucks, but we're talking about a feeling. We're not talking about a rational frame of reference, right? We're talking about a feeling. So as an example, in marriage especially, your spouse, because your spouse is the closest person to your secret life, perhaps your spouse is in your secret life, which would be awesome if you have your wife in your secret life. My wife is very much in my secret life. Your spouse understands you at a very deep level if she's in your secret life or he's in your secret life. And sometimes they suspect that what they're dealing with is some sort of memory, trauma, behavior, conditioning that happened when you were a child, 0 to 7. So they get the benefit of being able to call that out if that's what's happening, or if they suspect that's what's happening, when you engage in that kind of openness and say, this is what I was like as a kid. For me, I was always competing for attention, my mom's attention, because my mom was a single mom. She was working 2 jobs, sometimes 3. She was going to school. I spent a lot of time with my grandma. All I wanted was mom, because what does every child under the age of 7 want? Mom. They say they want dad sometimes, but they want mom. They want that nurturing, loving, maternal figure. And I didn't have that very often. So I learned very young that I had to compete to get mom's attention, and that competing to get mom's negative attention was not a good way of doing it. So acting out was not productive. Instead, I had to excel. I had to exceed. I had to be super helpful around the house. I had to be super independent. If I could get up at 6 o'clock in the morning on Saturdays, I could watch my cartoons, pour a bowl of cereal, be awake and be alert and be fed by 6:30 in the morning when my mom woke up, and she'd be like, Andrew, did you feed yourself? Good job. And what are you watching? And let me sit with you. And then I got mom's attention. So my wife knows that when I'm showing that attention-seeking behavior to her, to clients, to whatever else, she knows that it's going to drain my resources very quickly. So she'll call it out. She'll be like, hey, is this little Andy trying to seek attention because he sees some sort of opportunity? Or is this business Andy cultivating a client with biz dev or whatever up? And then I can look back and say, oh yeah, it's a great call, girl. Like if I'm putting this much energy into a client, it better be the right client. If I'm putting this much energy into whatever, the neighborhood watch parent, then it better be for a good reason, because I'm going to drain resources. And when I drain those resources, who's going to pay the penalty? My wife, my kids, my staff. So it's really useful to me to have her be able to communicate to me in those terms, and for me to understand that there are advantages that come from 0 to 7, 7 to 13. I mean, my worst years of my life were from 13 to 25. Those were hard, horrible years. Most people, those are hard, horrible years, right?
Was there something specific?
I was in the military. I should have never been in the military.
Like ROTC?
I was an Air Force Academy graduate. So 13 to 14, right when I was going into puberty, my stepdad was a Vietnam vet, and he ran a very military household as it related to me, the stepson. So part of me was always prepared to go into the military because my dad told me, right? You're out of the house at 18. You're either going into the military or you're getting a job. You're not going to college because we don't have any money for you to go to college. So that was always my rubric, right? I'm going to get a job and I'm going to go into the military, but I don't have a home. April 18th, the day after I turned 18, I no longer have a home. And my dad made it very clear, like, this is how it's going to work.
Were you still in high school?
I was my senior year. 18, I was going to graduate in May, and April was my birthday.
So you didn't even get to finish high school?
So I'm sure that they would have. I got to finish high school, but I needed a plan. Right. Like I had to demonstrate that I had a plan. It wasn't like I was going to graduate high school and be able to stay at home.
Right.
And I kind of knew that. So, back up 16, 17, I'm making this plan for when I turn 18 because I've been conditioned by my stepdad since I was like 12. You're out of the house at 18 and college is not an option. So I happened to find that a military school, the Air Force Academy, is a full ride scholarship to a university, and it's also in the military. So what is little Andy, the 0 to 7 Andy thinking? Well, maybe I'll make my stepdad happy if I go into the military. Maybe I can erase all of these years of pain and torment and trying to impress him if I just show him that we're the same. And I joined the military. Should not have joined the military. It just wasn't a good fit for me. It was a very, very difficult time. And from about 16 on, all I was doing was trying to qualify for the Air Force Academy, trying to, demonstrate my military discipline and my military structure and submit to authority and everything else. I was doing everything through a lens of, trying to prove that I'm successful in this realm. That's what so many of us do without even realizing that we do it or why we do it. I wouldn't change any of it for the world because I now have those experiences to pull from as I make my own decisions now. But a lot of that came because I was able to make my own decisions. It was me trying to fit into the rubric of following orders and being elite that took me to CIA. On my own volition, I don't know that would have ever happened. So I have to look back at little Andy and teenage Andy and adolescent Andy and all the trauma and all the challenges that drove me through what I experienced because they contributed to why CIA recruited me.
Yeah. Do you think that they contributed to why you're a high achiever?
Absolutely. So another one of the first lessons that you get at CIA, at least in CIA field operations, one of the first lessons they tell you is that there's a strong connection, an empirical connection between childhood trauma and high achievement.
CIA believes that all people are born with a spy secret superpower. For some people, that means they can win deals. For others, they can spot liars. Some can even seduce lovers. I built a free 3-minute test to help reveal to you exactly what your secret hidden superpower is. All you have to do is click on the link in the description below, take the test, and start using your spy superpower to stay ahead of 99% of people.
That the science is out there. I've looked it up on my own. The connection is extraordinary. That people who experience the right amount of childhood trauma, the right amount being enough that you had to prove something, but not so much that you had to adopt external coping mechanisms, right?
Whoa. Well said, like drugs.
Correct. Drugs, addictions to pornography, substance abuse, submitting yourself to the authority of others, right? Like there's a certain amount of trauma, that's the right amount of trauma that turns you into this high achiever. You always have to win something because you're trying to win favor, win attention, win rewards, win glory, win something. So you're always achieving, you're always driving yourself towards something. But it's not because you were born with drive. It's because some part of your childhood, those formative years, taught you that by achieving, you will be rewarded. So that becomes the inherent thought. By achieving, I will be rewarded. So now all of a sudden you project that onto a 40-year-old, a 50-year-old, a 25-year-old. They're going to have all the drive in the world because they believe they will be rewarded.
This is so fascinating. So I love people that have kids, even though I've chosen a different path. How are you going to play this with your kids? Like, are you, you turned 18, gotta go, or something completely different?
Yeah, it's funny. I have to admit that I haven't got it figured out yet. I don't have it figured out
10
yet.
years old already.
I know, and the days just keep on rolling. There are certain things that I've chosen to value, and my wife and I have these conversations pretty often. Legacy is extremely important to me. The whole reason I'm running a
Define
business.
legacy, please.
So for me, legacy is the legacy of how my family, how my children and my children's children remember me and remember my contributions to the family.
Okay.
I'm not worried about building wealth.
Yeah.
It'd be great to build wealth, but the truth is, when I look back, and this is very much how I was raised, right? I don't even know my father.
Did he die of?
He was murdered. He was murdered.
Oh God.
Yeah, he was killed in a violent crime. But I was less than a year old.
Still, Jesus
I know nothing
Christ.
about it. Yeah. So my father was killed in a violent crime. I never knew him. My stepdad came into my life when I was 4 and became my stepdad when I was 5. So I never knew my father. My stepdad was not a man that I had a close relationship with. So when I look back on my family heritage, it gets thin pretty fast. I have a grandma. My grandma was married and divorced, I'm pretty sure, more than once. My mom has been married and divorced more than once. My dad's mother and father, I don't even really know. Like, I think I've read about them. I may have met my father's mother once, and that was all it took for me to be like, I see why my father didn't stay with you, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for me, legacy is all about what is the foundation that you're giving your children to continue to progress and achieve more than you did. The big thing that was lacking from my childhood was love and support. I was fighting for my mom's attention. She was fighting for the survival of her family. That's a pretty low bar. So if I can just give my kids love and attention and give them an experience where we're not struggling to survive, that's step one. But I also know empirically they have to experience some level of trauma if they're going to be high achievers. So do I intentionally create whatever that trauma is, or do I try to be there to help guide them through it as it happens, because maybe it happens somewhere else, or do I accept that my children might just not be high achievers?
Brother, I'm holding my breath for the answer here. Like, don't leave us hanging.
Yeah, so I don't have it figured out. I know for a fact I want them to feel loved and I want them to feel supported. I oftentimes question whether or not they should be high achievers. Why do we value high achievers? I value high achievers because I believe myself to be a high achiever. I connect with other high achievers. Life is more enjoyable because I'm always trying to achieve something. But then I think about all the creatives out there. The vast majority of the creative people in the world are not actually high achievers. They're creators, right? The people who draw the comic books you and I love, the people who make the music you and I love, like, somebody drives them. Somebody creates a schedule for them. Somebody creates a production schedule for them. Somebody forces them to go on tour. Somebody drives them. And that's why we see so many amazing artists turn to coping mechanisms like drug, alcohol, and everything else to try to get through the stress of their life. Perhaps they're not achievers on their own. They're just deep creators, and they're happy to sit in a dark room somewhere. And if someone just brought them a sandwich every 3 hours or so, they would create amazing things. So I don't know.
I think I have the closest thing to a solution on this. So one, I totally agree on the trauma thing. And this really is one of the reasons that my wife and I decided not to have kids, because I knew they'd have to go through something hard. And I didn't know if I could watch my kids go through something hard without stepping in and solving the problem for them. So I thought I was going to be the ultimate, what do they call them? Tiger moms. Like, I thought that was going to be me. I'm just going to be helicoptering in there, solving every problem. I wasn't sure. So the way that I approach this is through the lens of fulfillment. So I really believe that we are biological creatures, and there are subroutines running in your pink matter, whether you want them to be or not. And a lot of it has to do with just the 50% of you that's hardwired. And it's become fashionable to act like we are blank slates. We are not blank slates. The brain works in a certain way. And this is why humans are laughably predictable. And because of that, I think everyone is pushed violently by the winds of evolution to pursue fulfillment, which I have a formula for. A recipe is probably the right way to think about it. And the recipe is you have to work really hard. I can go into why, but you have to work really hard to attain a set of skills that allow you to serve not only yourself, but other people in a way that you find exciting. Like that's it. If you're doing that, then you will feel centered in your life. It doesn't mean that you won't go through grief. It doesn't mean that life won't get brutal at times, but it does mean that you have an orienting mechanism. In fact, I think it was you that said, in fact, what is life about? What's the meaning of life?
Yeah, it's all about self-respect.
Perfect. Okay, so it definitely was you. I've always told people the only thing that matters is how you feel about yourself when you're by yourself. Self-respect.
Yep.
You have to do something that makes you think you are worthy of respect. No one can give it to you. You can't stare in the mirror and say, I love you, I love you, I love you. It won't work. You have to do something that you believe is worthy of respect. And part of that, I think, for people to respect themselves is they have to do something that they think is exciting, but is also honorable in that it helps not only themselves, but other people. And so if you do that, then you'll have this core thing that will see you through the tumult of the ups and downs of life, loss, love, all that good stuff. And the one trick in all of this is that you're going to be super driven, I think, to feel good about yourself. You're going to have dominion over your own life, which means when you say you're going to do something, you do it. And that takes an insane amount of discipline and drive. So through all of that, though, you're going to have to make a decision around what am I going to value myself for? So that idea of self-respect, you decide what you think is worthy of respect in yourself and other people. It is a decision. And it would be different from culture to culture. There's going to be a lot of similarities, but they will vary.
Right.
And in that, if people make the mistake of saying, I value myself for the achievement, you're dead. You're done. Your life is going to suck. You're screwed, because there are going to be times where you nail it and you're going to feel good, but it will be so related to whether you got the outcome or not. It won't even be fun. And so you hear about all these gold medalists that are like, okay, first of all, it was a nightmare trying to win the gold medal. And then once I won it, like my life was completely empty. But if instead of making it about the outcome, you make it about the pursuit, all I value myself for, and this is really me talking, this is sincere, this is how I think about myself. All I value myself for is the sincere pursuit of my goals. Now, my goals need to be exciting and honorable, as explained previously, but I may never achieve it. So I'm trying to build the next Disney. The odds of me succeeding are virtually zero. But I show up every day. I leave it all out on the field, man. And so if I fail, look, it will be a gut punch. There's no doubt, but I won't lose respect for myself based on whether I do it or don't do it. Because then it's like a thing that like is way off in the distance. I can't respect myself for the next 50 years while I try to do this. Like that doesn't make any sense to me. So tying your self-esteem to the sincere pursuit of something feels like the only way out of a death trap.
That's an awesome formula. It's an awesome formula because it takes the achievement factor out. That's what makes it so awesome. We are all conditioned, at least in American culture, Western culture, we are, if we're speaking English and you're listening to this in your native tongue, you have been preconditioned to believe that achievement is the ultimate goal. It's just how the Western mind works. Your formula makes it about working hard to achieve a set of skills that allows you to make a contribution that you find exciting. Achievement doesn't have to happen, right?
And won't quite frequently. Like you'll get wins, hopefully, along the way. But because I work with so many people that are trying to build businesses, I'm always telling them, look, the success is not guaranteed, but the struggle is. This is going to be hard, no matter what you're trying to do. You're trying to be a piano teacher. You're trying to build the next Microsoft. Doesn't matter. It's all going to be hard. Now the question becomes, will you love the struggle or not? Because you may never achieve your goal. And even if you do, it's some amount down the road. And so if you're not loving the difficulty, you're going to have a hard time. And I remember my business partners, my former business partners and I, we used to ask a question that I think it certainly caused me a lot of suffering. I won't speak for them. But the question was, what would we do if we knew we couldn't fail? And I remember that question was presented to me like it was the smartest thing in the world. And I just thought, I don't think that's the right question, because what I found was the success isn't guaranteed, but the struggle is. So I was like, what is the right question? And to me, the right question is, what would I do and love every day, even if I were failing? Because that I can guarantee. Like, there's going to be some ridiculously long stretch of time. A year can feel like a long time when you're taking shots to the face.
Oh, yeah.
And in that year, what would you love doing even if it wasn't working out? And then do that thing, right? And so that has been an organizing principle of my life. So unfortunately, I chased money for almost a decade, and that was miserable. And the irony of my life is I don't end up getting wealthy until I stop chasing money and I start chasing purpose. Now, business acumen is a huge part of my success story. So I don't want people to get delusional that like, oh, it's some Pollyanna story, and once you just love other people, everything works out. No.
Right.
But once you have another thing that's going to keep you pushing when things get hard, now you've really got a shot. But yeah, so many people orient themselves around, I imagine myself standing on the podium, winning the award, getting the Academy Award, making millions of dollars. And I'm going to feel at that moment the way I feel about the people that I look at when they win. But it's a very different experience to win the award, get the money, than it is to look at the person winning the award and getting the money.
You know, I love that idea of embracing the struggle, because the closest thing I have found to espionage, the closest thing I found to spy work, is business.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's the closest thing out there.
All the sense in the world to me.
It's the closest thing out there. You have to get in the head of your client, just like you have to get in the head of your target. The constant experimentation, the constant shots to the face, the constant failure. We have something called a probability curve that we use at the agency. And the probability curve is basically telling you that the most probable outcome is failure. 80% of the time, you're going to fail. 20% of the time, you're going to succeed. So you've got to be ready to fail 8 times before your first success. And that doesn't mean it's going to be an exponential success. It's just not a failure. Right? It might take 30, 40, 50 swings before you actually hit that home run. So what's going to keep you swinging? What's going to keep you swinging? Because you're not going to get excited when you hit a base hit after 8 swings. You're just not going to get excited about that, right? What's going to keep you coming back day after day after day? And in business, it's the same way. I've gotten to use all of the spy skills in business. I've gotten to meet amazing people in business. I've gotten to go to amazing places in business. And that's exactly what espionage is like. And I'm just in a blessed position now where our business continues to succeed and continues to thrive. And we just double down on what we know works. Keep holding it, keep treating it like it's a spy operation, and keep teaching people that business is the closest thing to spying because it works. We don't know. I can't say that I know why it works. I can only tell you what I know about espionage and why espionage works. And I'm seeing that the correlation exists in business as well.